you for joining us on the Right of Way Report, a podcast by Pikeoff OTA. You can join us here every Monday morning at 10 a.m., where we will bring you updates on legislation, litigation, and landowner information.
Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Great. The weather is fantastic. It is my last middle school basketball game tonight. And then we go into the next season. So yeah, it's been
awesome.
The wind stayed down this weekend for soccer, and it was nice to finally get outside and not freeze and not feel like you're going to get blown over by the wind. But also, did you have mosquitoes at your house?
Not that I've noticed, but I did notice the birds chirping this morning, though, and I was like, oh, it's fall spring. If only it would really be spring, but I feel like we're probably not at the end of winter just yet. But man, I wish we were.
Probably not. With all the flu going around, we need the weather to keep getting better.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, we have a super packed show today. Everything from how to contact your legislator and tell them we need our bills to pass in committee and on the floor, to the Norman City Council elections that are tomorrow, to the OTA meeting wrap up from last week, to the public comment period, to how you can refuse access to surveyors and engineers, and to our recently submitted notice of intent to sue over the South Canadian River. I think we're going to touch on a little bit of everything and try to give you some concise points that you can take away and make some positive changes here in Oklahoma. So, should we get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So the first thing is kind of a really short fuse. In fact, we need you to contact the legislators before this afternoon. And so, to our surprise, one of the bills, we actually didn't write this bill, but we helped to fix it. It's a bill, two senators wrote a very similar bill, Standridge and Sacchieri, and it's all about limiting the ad valorem tax increases when people are forced off their properties by eminent domain. And Senate Bill 2001, which was written by Standridge, and then Senator Sacchieri jumped on as a co-author, that is scheduled to be heard in the Senate Revenue and Taxation meeting today, which is being held at 1:30 or after their afternoon session. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about what this is. So it's right now, it's written specifically for people that are having their homes taken by the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority. And we all think, well, I'm not going to speak for anybody but myself, but I think that it needs to be broader, that Oklahoma needs to have an eminent domain reform that's broader than the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority. And so what it does right now, it says for the tax year 2027 and subsequent tax years for an individual who owned a homestead, and that's what you do when you're living in your house and you go to the tax assessors and say, you can only increase my taxes by 3% per year instead of the 5% per year, who owned a homestead that was purchased by the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority for the construction or expansion of a turnpike and is claiming a subsequent homestead exemption on a property that homestead shall, for the first 3 tax years, the homestead exemption is authorized, be granted an additional exemption from all forms of ad valorem taxation to the extent of the amount of the assessed valuation necessary to limit the ad valorem liability of the taxpayer to equal the amount of ad valorem liability on the previous homestead in the last tax year prior to being purchased by the authority. Now, that was written by a lawyer, not me, because that could be way more clear. And so I took a stab at saying what I would do if I actually had any power to get the legal legislative writers to do what they need to do. And also, Senator Sacchieri, if you remember, used to be a county assessor, and she's not super happy with this language either. And she tried to get them to fix it, and they did. And it's so complicated and inefficient up there. But we have a chance. If we could pass the committee, we can make a floor amendment, and we have several other chances to get some things in. But what I'm going to send an email to about today to the the chair of the committee, is I'm going to tell them that I think it's a really good idea, but I think it should be broadly applied to all Oklahoma citizens who lose their homes and property to eminent domain, no matter who the condemning agency is. And so I think that it should be just for an individual who owned a homestead that was acquired by a condemning authority, so more generic. And then in simple terms, it's just whatever you're paying in ad valorem tax right now gets transferred, or unless it's less, gets transferred to your new home, and then you start from that. So you don't have to have that initial jump. The other one is written very complicated, and Senator Sacchieri agreed. But anyway, we need you to contact let's see, I'll put a banner up there. You need to contact Dave Rader and Vice Chair Dusty Devers and tell them that they should pass this. And you could say, hey, we think it should be more broadly applied, but you can leave it alone and just say it's a good idea, and we think it should get to the next step.
And that's important because right now, the Turnpike Authority has said, because we've had several landowners who've asked the Turnpike Authority to average this in or somehow include this in their compensation, and they will not do it. So any extra that you're going to have to pay in property taxes in the new home, they're not covering that at all. They will not factor that into your negotiations. It just flat out won't do it. So it's important that we get it in statute. Otherwise, it's not going to happen.
Right. And this doesn't affect the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority or any condemning agency at all. It affects the county assessors. And so the condemning agencies shouldn't really care, to be honest. They shouldn't be fighting this. So I don't see what the hang up would be. And again, if you're contacting the senators or the House representatives, just know in the Senate, the email is always the first name and then a dot and then the last name at oksenate.gov. And so if you know the first and last name, you always know their email, and you can shoot them a small, short email or give them a quick call and tell them, thank you for representing all of Oklahomans as your committee chair, as the committee chair and vice chair. And as an Oklahoman, I want you to do X, Y, and Z. I think this about a bill. So they like to hear from you. And then,
polite.
yeah. And then if you can, we put this up last week, I think, contact the floor leader, Julie Daniels, for Senate Bill 80 to be heard on the Senate floor. It's already passed through committee last year, but it needs to be put on the floor agenda. And this one is a big one. This limits the OTA authority. This means that new turnpike routes require explicit legislative authorization. It requires real public notice. It requires mandatory public meetings. It requires full disclosure, public record accountability. It has our sunset provision that we wanted with all the 17 location authorization strikeouts and definitions of the remaining location authorizations, which matches what several of us had a meeting with the OTA last week, and they said that they were in agreement on the record about that. And then it includes a conflict of interest enforcement. So we really think that this should get through the Senate to be sent over to the House. We still want to make a little bit more adjustments to it in terms of putting more teeth into it. But honestly, if we got half of what was in this bill, it would still be a win for the citizens. So if you could call and Floor Leader Julie Daniels' office and tell her that you'd really like to see this be debated on the Senate floor, that would help us out. Okay. Now, the House of Representatives has a very convoluted method of getting bills through the system. Previously, before this new, very young, very politically connected Speaker of the House came in with a very established, I guess, chairman running the show. you only had one committee to get through. Well, he's made it so you have two committees to get through, and they don't even assign the committees until the second week. Well, you only have 3 weeks to get these bills heard through committee, and they already just wasted one. So we have several bills in this House Civil Judiciary committee that meets every Thursday from 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. in room 450. And the chair is Colin Dool and the vice chair is Bob Culver. And there's several friends in this committee. And we have 4 eminent domain reform bills. We have Representative Stairs and Wilk running a necessity hearing bill for us. We have Representative Sterling running a just compensation bill for us. And then Representative Mentz running a landowner bill of rights bill. And then that codifying of the state Supreme Court ruling from 2006 that you can't use eminent domain for economic development. And we have 2 weeks to get these on the committee agenda. So if you could start emailing and calling these committee members and the chair and the vice chair to say you really support these bills, you support eminent domain reform in Oklahoma, please put these on your agenda. We only have 2 more times, this Thursday and next Thursday, and then they'll be pretty much dead for the entire session if we don't get them heard in committee. And then we've got the House Transportation Committee. So we've been working with this chair for 4 years, and he's pretty sympathetic to our cause. There's just a lot of political pressure, unfortunately, for him not to hear our bills. So it'd be really great if you could contact Ronnie Johns and Jonathan Wilk, who is a brand new representative from our area. He's in Cleveland County. He's very, very pro-citizen and pro-government transparency. And I think he'd be really receptive. He actually viewed our documentary and was really impressed with our work. And so we've got a certified real notice. We've got ending cross-pledging. We've got a sunset authorization. And then another constituent asked Representative Mentz to run a bill to remove the right of condemnation from the OTA. And so all these bills, I'm sure that not all of them are going to get heard, but it would be great to have at least one heard. And we have, again, 2 weeks to get this in. They list the agenda 24 hours before the meeting. So we have till tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. to convince the chair and the vice chair to put one of these bills up for this week. And then we've got one bill in this House A and B standing committee. And I'll be honest with you, I have no idea when they meet. The schedule is very complicated, and it's listed like 6 times throughout the week. So we have some people calling up there today to find out when the meeting is. This is a huge committee. And we have House Bill 1188 in this committee. It's already passed through a subcommittee last year. So it passed through the A&B Transportation Subcommittee. Now it's coming to this main committee. I'm not sure what the odds are that we're going to get in, but it's a fantastic bill. One of our own, Kate Contreras, helped write this bill to protect the abutting landowners in an urban turnpike setting. So it's a really good bill. I think it should get heard, but we'll see. You can contact the chair, Trey Caldwell, and the vice chair, John Kane, and ask them to hear it. And again, I don't know when this meeting is, sometime between now and Thursday, and then again next Monday through Thursday. They don't meet on Friday. Let's see what else. We don't have anything right now in the House A and B Transportation Subcommittee. We've got the House Judiciary and Public Safety Oversight. It meets apparently 3 times a week, which doesn't make sense, but that's what the schedule says. The chair is Robert Manger and the vice chair is Colin Dool. And we have 2 eminent domain bills in this committee. So the Landowner Bill of Rights and Defining Public Use. This is the second committee. There's 2 committees. So I guess we don't have to worry about this one right now. But this is what happens after they get through the first committee. Okay, so now we've got to work on the Senate. The Senate Judiciary meets Tuesdays at 1:30, so we have a couple hours to get this done. we need to contact the Senate Judiciary, Brent Howard and Todd Gallagher, and ask them to hear these 4 eminent domain reform bills. Senate Bill 1517, Senate Bill 1556, Senate Bill 1835, and Senate Bill 1945. We think these are really good. And they're generic. They're not just against the OTA. They're against all condemning agencies. So we'd really like to see these get worked in. And then the transportation. I think you should still contact the Transportation Committee, but I am very reluctant to have I guess guess what they're gonna read. They're fantastic bills. We've got a cross-pledging bill, ending cross-pledging bill. We're solidifying legislative intent, which actually does nothing to the OTA. It just protects the citizens in court. We've got a debt ceiling bill and a budding landowner protection bill, requiring municipality input and citizen vote, a plan for orderly dissolution and disbandment, and make turnpikes free for Oklahoma citizens and law enforcement. I think all are very valid, but the chair has been seen shaking hands with a lot of the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority members at recent meetings, and the previous chair did that too. And we're going to check out some ethics report in the next couple of weeks so you can see who's being paid by who. It's pretty interesting, all the PACs and the engineering consultants and the highway contractors that get into these chairs and vice chairs' ethics reports. And that is the legislative update. We have a ton of bills, and some of them aren't even our bills. Some of them were just written by other people and that we're supporting. And so if you can support those eminent domain bills and our Oklahoma Turnpike Authority accountability bills, that would be fantastic. Kelly, there's like almost 40 bills that have to do with the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority accountability or eminent domain reform this session.
Wow.
Yeah.
And think about in 2022, when we first started looking at all of this, there was like one, 4088, I think. And that was obviously not written by us. And that was to authorize the OTA. Well, it was a new authorization for a route to continue from the Kickapoo up through Arcadia. And I mean, just a testament to our legislative efforts right out of the gate in 2022, even though session had already started, we defeated that bill.
Mm-hmm. And that was a Kevin Wallace bill, and he was defeated by Jim Shaw, by the people. So that was a big time move. And we hope that we can get more legislators like Jim Shaw in this election cycle.
Yeah, for sure.
And so on that, we have an election tomorrow, everybody. If you're in Cleveland County and you're in the city of Norman, you have got to go to your polling place and vote for your Norman City Council. And if you wanted to check out their campaign reports, you can check them out at this website that I found, but they're not super up to date. But you can go to normanok.gov and click around and you'll find those campaign reports. And I'll put that in the Substack recap this week. But you've got to vote on Ward 2, Ward 4, Ward 5, and Ward 6. And if you haven't done the early voting already, it's all day tomorrow on the 10th. And so if you're in those wards, please vote, because Oklahoma has notoriously low voter output or low voter turnout, I guess. And it'd be really, really nice to get some big voter turnout for those people that you think are really going to speak for the people. Because to be honest, the city council and the county commissioners have so much say over what happens to us locally. In fact, that's probably the most important thing that we can do is get really good people in those local, city, and county positions to protect us. And so Ward 2, we've got these 3 individuals, Russell Rice, Stephanie Adams, and JC Deck. So if you're in Ward 2, this is nonpartisan. You have 3 options, so make sure you go out and vote. And then in Ward 4, you've got the current council person, Helen Grant, and running against her is Cindy Gordon. So that's Ward 4. And then Ward 5, this is where I live in Ward 5. So you've got 3 candidates. You've got Shaista Fenwick, Shy. You got Trey Kirby, and you've got Diana Hutzel. So I just put a copy of the sample ballot that you'll fill out if you go to Ward 5. And in the Substack that I put out last week, I have a link to where the League of Women Voters had them on to talk. And then there was another podcast last week for 2 of the Ward 5 people you can listen to decide if you haven't made your mind up already. And then Ward 6 is Josh Hinkle, who's already on the council, and he's challenged by Kyle Steele. So you've got some options, and please do show up. It's really important. And so if you did not know, we've got kind of a big year on the election calendar. If you want to change your political affiliation, you have until April 1st. And you have to have it done by April 1st to be able to vote in the primaries. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But the primaries are June 16th. And this is when the Cleveland County Commissioners will go through their primary, and also all the other state elected officials. And so everybody has to file by April 3rd. So we should know more by then, but just get this on your calendar. If you're thinking about the fact that you want to vote in a Republican primary and you're not a Republican, you probably need to change that affiliation by the 1st. Okay, so the Cleveland County Commissioners, we just wanted to put this out here real fast because to get you thinking about it. We have 3 districts in Cleveland County: District 1, District 2, and District 3. District 1 and District 3 are up for vote this year. And they are going to be won or lost in the primaries, which is in June 16th. So find out what district you're in, and then decide if you want to say in the election, because the only way you're going to get a say in the election is to be voting in the Republican primary. Okay, so we've got, this is all crammed together, but you can see that candidates must file from April 1st to April 3rd at the state capitol. You can't go early, late, or incomplete. But right now, District 1 is up for election, and that's Rod Cleveland. He's current. And then District 3 is up for election, and that's Rusty Grissom. He's current and apparently running again. And then Michael Nash has said he's going to run, and he has a website already. And then Harold Harrelson, who used to be the former commissioner from 2015 to 2023, has stated that he's going to run again, but I couldn't find any other information out. We won't really know till April 3rd. But again, when we were talking to some people about how this all works and how it and what's going to happen, they mentioned to us that the Republican primaries will choose our next commissioner. And so when I moved here, I was registered an independent. Actually, I was an independent for 26 years. And then in 2022, when I wanted to vote in the primary that Stitt was running in, I changed my affiliation so I could vote right around the time that the Turnpike was announced. And a lot of people changed then. And I really think if you live in District 1 or District 3 and you're not registered a Republican, I'd ask you respectfully and with urgency to please consider changing your affiliation. Remember, you can vote for whoever you want in a general election, but we really need to get good people in this season, because that resolution with the Cleveland County Commissioners that says that they're going to cooperate and pay for all of those service roads and maintenance is a disaster. And we need to take back the power and tell the Cleveland County Commissioners that's not what we want. And this is a really important election cycle, so please do consider that. And if you want to know how to do it, you go to the okvoterportal.okelections.gov. Just type in your last name, your first name, your date of birth, and then you'll say you want to there's all this voter services, and you just click change my political affiliation and then begin, and then you just go through. And so it's a really simple thing. This is where you ask for absentee ballots. This is where you change your address. This is where you can do all this stuff. So just go to that Oklahoma voting portal and take care of that. And remember, we're going to be talking about this all the way up through, well, probably the primaries, but definitely through April 1st and April 3rd, when we'll know who's actually running. So think about it and try to find out about these candidates and really ask them hard questions, because if you've seen our documentary, you know what happened in the Cleveland County Commissioner's boardroom last year was not okay, and we have to make sure that never happens again. So we need great people in there.
So I think a really good question to ask would be, if the Turnpike Authority comes to you and says, look, if you'll partner with us, we'll take care of X, Y, and Z. We'll give the city or the county or whoever it is X, Y, and Z. So I would ask these candidates, if the Turnpike Authority comes to you and says something like this, are you going to be of the mindset, well, it's coming through anyways, we might as well get something out of it? Or will you stand firm and say no? The answer you're looking for is stand firm and say no, because what we know from our research in the past is that even if they sign a resolution saying that they will do this, X, Y, and Z, they don't follow through. It gets manipulated and changed over time, and in the end, the municipality is left holding the bill. So it's always a no. It's always a no.
Absolutely. And Kelly has lots of resolutions from past counties and past projects that she can talk to anybody about what happened and what they thought was going to happen and what actually happened. And it's just, we tried to tell the Cleveland County commissioners that, but they didn't listen. They listened the first time, but not the second time, when the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority was desperate for a cooperation agreement, because remember, by statute, they have to have one to come into our county. So we had them held out. The city of Norman did a good job at holding them out. Then the county commissioners just gave it all to them and then said, oh, well, we're okay with it. But who pays that bill? We do, in increased property tax. And we don't want that liability. We don't want to be bootstrapped with a $250 million 50-year maintenance liability that we just don't have. And so think long and hard about who you want to elect, because that's either going to make or break us for the next 3 years.
Right. And if it does come up in your conversation, you can point the candidates or our current elected officials to state statute 69-1706. It specifically says in there that the Turnpike Authority is supposed to bear the cost of replacing any highway, any interchange, any bridge, any current existing infrastructure that they have to modify, or if they tear it up or damage it during the process of putting together one of their projects, that the Turnpike Authority is to bear that cost. And something else is interesting is it also says on here, so the cost of such grade separations and any damage incurred in changing and adjusting the lines and grades of such highways shall be ascertained and paid by the authority as part of the cost of the Turnpike project. The authority shall maintain the structure and the surface of bridges and overpasses where a county road crosses over or under a turnpike. That's huge. I don't think our county commissioners are understanding that. I think they don't know it's there or something, because the Turnpike Authority is making the counties pay for that bridge or underpass construction. And then according to this, if I'm reading that correctly, it also says that the Turnpike Authority not only is supposed to be paying for that, but they're also supposed to maintain it afterwards. So, that's just an added cost that our cities and counties shouldn't have, but a lot of times they are. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that up there real fast since we were talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
So
where do we want to go now, do you think? Do we want to go to the what's happening. People are getting the letters and they're contacting us about the access. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just fixing a bill committee assignment. Last minute, the second week in session with 3 weeks,
Nice.
3 weeks total to go. It's always how it is. Okay. So we have been getting a lot of letters from people that are very, understandably stressed out. They got a letter from the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority, and it's asking them to come on their property. And so you can refuse access to surveyors and engineers. You have every right. And I know that Poe and Associates, who is acting as the right-of-way agent for the project manager for the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority, keeps a list of do not enter. So I've seen the list from the first go round last July. And I know that there was like a dozen and a half people that said you can't come on. And I really do encourage you to use the law to your advantage. And so we'll talk a little bit about that and tell you where you can get signs if you need them. So you can't really see this letter, but this is a letter that was sent to the property owner last year, and it's the same one that you're all getting right now. And it says that we're writing to inform you that on or above this date, we want to get on your site, your property, to do some surveying and digging and to find out. And they give you a statute number. And it sounds all professional and correct, but you have to be educated and understand what the real law is. And so that's really where Pike is coming in, to educate and give you the power to advocate for yourself. And so you get it in a certified mail envelope. And so make sure you pick up that certified mail. Just don't ignore it. You need to pick it up because you need the phone number that's inside so you can make a phone call. And so what they're telling you in there, the state statute 69, section 1706C, that is the supplemental turnpike statute. So the turnpike statute 69 is supplemental to all other state laws that come first, which would be Title 27 and Title 21. And so you have to understand that it's supplemental. And it says that the authority and its authorized agents and employees may enter upon any lands, waters, and premises in the state for the purpose of making surveys, soundings, drillings, and examinations as it may deem necessary or convenient for the purposes of establishing, locating, relocating, constructing, and maintaining turnpikes. Okay. Why would you let them on your land before they owned it? So it's your land. You do not have to let them on your land. There's a phone number at the bottom of that letter. Call them and tell them you do not want anybody entering your property. And you can cite if you want to, but we have this as a sign that we'll show you in a little bit. You can cite Title 21, Section 1835A, Paragraph 3A. You have the right as a property owner to not give them permission. So you have to forbid them orally or in writing. You can forbid registered land surveyors and registered professional engineers for the purpose of land surveying and the performance of their professional duties. Person making a delivery, selling a product or service, person who has a legitimate reason for entering and who immediately upon entering seeks to conduct business. So unless you tell them no, they can come on. So if you tell them no, they cannot. And so what we're telling people is if the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority and their subcontractors show up after you've called and they have a highway patrolman with them, do not get upset. They do this. It's just a fear mongering technique. You're supposed to call the Cleveland County Sheriff and tell them that you'd like them to come to your property because the Oklahoma Highway Patrol is asking to get on your site without a warrant or anything. And then the Cleveland County Sheriff will help you negotiate that. And so remember, you have the law on your side, Title 21. And we have these signs for sale. We're not making any money on them. We had them printed and we're giving them to you at cost. It's just a no trespassing sign, and it cites that statute 21. So if you are getting, if you got that letter, number one, call the number at the bottom of the letter and say you do not want the survey. Number 2, you can put up these signs. And number 3, if someone does show up at your door, at your gate, at your fence, and wants entry, and they're bringing muscle with them in terms of the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, who is paid for and works for the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority, make sure you call the Cleveland County Sheriff and have them come help you negotiate that situation. Kelly, is there anything else we need to tell them about that? Because we've had a lot of people decline entry without any problems.
Not that I know of. Just to recap, pick up the certified letter. By picking that up, you are not telling the Turnpike Authority, you're not agreeing to anything by picking it up. But if you don't pick up the letter, then the Turnpike Authority can say, well, they didn't refuse us, so they may try to use that to their advantage. And just say that, anyway, yeah. So you should definitely go pick up the letter and then give that number a call. You should also email, and I can't remember the email address off the top of my head, but I can look it up. But you should also email Sean Cavanaugh. And I believe from the last landowner that I spoke with the other day that his email address is actually also listed in the letter now. And then also one other little tidbit is that, so the letter will say that they will be there on or after a certain date. And the law says that they have to give the landowner 10 days notice before they show up. So one, make sure that it's 10 days. It probably will be. But also it's worth noting that that doesn't expire. So if it says that they could show up on or after January 1st of 2026, well, from January 1st, 2026 through 2040, they could show up because they've essentially said, at least that's my understanding, that they could come at such and such time or date. And so anytime after that, they could still show up. So you won't be receiving a second letter, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Correct. And it's super important that you not let them do this. So we had one homeowner on the Canadian River that let them do it, and they cut through and just like wrecked the back end of their property. And they said, well, what do we do? I said, well, he should have not let them on to start with. And so just be aware that any damage that occurs is not going to be rectified. So just don't let them on your property.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a photo of the drilling so that people will know why we're saying don't let them on. They come on with these massive trucks and they say that they're going to just, do surface scrapings or whatever, but that's not what I saw.
Yeah. I'll put my SUBSTACK in here. You can check it out. I got some pictures of drilling and everything. I wrote it last year, but it's still
perfect.
It's still applicable. So
yeah, and if I can find that picture, I'll throw it up here in just a little bit too. But so far, it's not coming up quick. So,
but just please know your rights and don't be coerced by fear, and use us as a resource and use your Cleveland County Sheriff as a resource, and just know what you can and can't do. And it's your property, you own it, and there's lots of laws to protect that.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right.
Yeah. We gave you a lot of information already. 37 minutes.
Yeah,
you want to talk about the show them the video of the I-35?
Yes, although hold on, I did find my I found the picture of the driller. So let me see if I can throw that in here real fast.
Everybody, there's so much stuff going on right now. It's really important to stay up to date and just ask questions if you have any. And if you see something, tell us. Just keep your community notified, because we're stronger together than we are individually, and we can't have our eyes everywhere. So we rely on a lot of people to tell us where the surveyors are right now, what's happening. And if you're getting a letter, please let us know, because we're keeping notes of where they are notifying people. They do it in little segments, typically 5-mile segments. And so we can keep an eye on what's going on and make sure that we're launching certain things when we need to.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
it's like
big,
it's the wrong size. It's not sized quite right, but that will show you it's this mess. I wish you could see it better. That's just too bad. Anyway, so yeah, so definitely you don't want this big truck with this big drilling thing coming on your property if you don't have to. Let's see if there's any. No, oh, so somebody was posting the links in the comments. That's perfect. Okay. Next, well, we were going to do a recap of the OTA meeting. So let's do that. So OTA meeting was last Tuesday, I guess, and they talked about. Let's see what they talked about. Oh, they revealed the new SUBSTACK. They had this nice little graphic animation, and let's see if I have it. I can pull up here and show you guys what that's going to look like. Somewhere.
It's down at the bottom.
Yeah. We don't have a choice.
Officials say to alleviate traffic, the Access Oklahoma Turnpike is the only option.
Widening I-35, that's not an option. It's as wide as it can go. It is at full capacity.
The next item we have is the East-West Connector at I-35. We have initiated the public involvement process at this location. This process is exactly what we did at I-44 East-West Connector in Newcastle late last year.
4 lanes.
On the video, you can see a 3D rendering of the interchange itself, and this is the 3D rendering of how it will be as the ultimate configuration. It is pretty neat.
It's pretty neat.
On the AccessOklahoma.com website, we have posted a link of the public involvement portal for project feedback.
Monstrosity.
This
you know
virtual
what else
public
is interesting
involvement
to me
opened
about
on
this?
January 20th.
Let's see if I can make it go back.
In Newcastle.
I don't know if you'll
exactly
be able to
what
see
we
it
did
because
at
of
I-44 East.
But look right.
Did the public involvement process at this location.
A little bit.
The video, you can see a 3D.
Look right up there. Do you know what that is? That's anti-alligators. Apparently, they didn't need to buy anti-alligators. Not for ODOT's bridge project. And apparently, they didn't even need to take it down for the East-West Connector Turnpike project, which I think is kind of interesting considering ODOT spent over $6 million on that property, and that's state tax money that could have gone to ODOT's roads and repairs. And instead, ODOT has this building worth $6 million for what? For nothing.
Yeah, so if you're listening to this and not looking at it, what we're showing is a flyover 3D rendering of I-35 coming south. And there's 4 lanes shown in either way. And they always say that they can't widen it, which is nonsense because there is enough room. They'd have to do some bridge modifications to move some of the foundations, but that's a contractor's dream job. And then you can see, well, we can move the bubble out of the way, or you can go to the OTA website and see the SUBSTACK monstrosity interchange that they're coming up to try to go to the East-West Connector and then continue south on I-35. So it's nonsense. I mean, it looks like Dallas. What? For what? We told you last week that Indian Hills is supposed to have 5,300 cars on it per day.
Yep.
Route 9 has 40,000 cars per day. Main Street is 25,000 cars per day. The Kickapoo has less than 9,000 cars per day. This is ridiculous.
Completely. Okay, so we'll move on here. So they talked about, I guess I should probably finish that video.
On the AccessOklahoma.com website, we have posted a link of the public involvement portal for project feedback. This virtual public involvement opened on January 20th and will run through February 20th. So there's a full month in there that for the public can go and make any comments about this project.
So definitely we need people to go to their website and submit public comment. And you're going to want to let them know you want the no build option, that we don't want the turnpike at all. And ask them for the access justification reports. I was actually thinking, Amy, I might give them a call or send them an email and ask them, what do they plan on doing with this information? And number two, I would also like to ask them, and people, please put this in your comments to them, is how will this information impact the project? Our feedback. How will our feedback impact the project? Because I bet you anything, it doesn't impact it at all. They're not going to change anything. They're not going to take our information, our feedback, and say, okay, well, the people want to do this, and so this is what we're going to do. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can throw this up here on the screen real fast. So ODOT had that original project, the Indian Hills Bridge replacement, and they did that corridor study, and they held public comment asking the public, do you want one-way frontage roads along I-35, or do you want two-way frontage roads? And right now we have two-way frontage roads, which I kind of like, because then if you can go either direction and you can stay on that one side of the highway. You don't have to cross the highway to go back north or south, right? Well, the new interchange is, you saw it there, will only include one-way frontage roads. And I think that comes into play somewhere on here. Oh, maybe not. So, okay, here, they're talking about it here. So the two-way to one-way service road switch. So from 4th Street in Moore down to Robinson Street in Norman, the I-35 service roads are only going to be one direction on both sides. So you can only either go north or you can only go south. You'll have to cross over the highway if you want to go back the other direction, which is kind of a pain. And if you remember the Indian Hills I-35 corridor study that ODOT put together back in 2021, I believe the public actually said they wanted to keep and retain the two-way frontage roads. But you can see here that OTA has decided that it will be one-way, because they're going to switch it from two-way to one-way service roads. And then look down here, it says, still need public involvement once the final option is determined. What will be the point of collecting public feedback if the option has already been determined? So I would just ask them this: what exactly are you going to do with this information that I'm presenting to you? What are you going to do with my comments? What are you going to do with my concerns? What are you going to do with my feedback? How is it going to impact the project? Will it make a difference? Because I have a feeling they're just using it to check a box. And then you guys should also know that ODOT is also holding their own comment period, which starts tomorrow. And it is over that Indian Hills I-35 corridor study that they, presented back in the spring, or I guess it was, it would have been in the fall of 2021. And I would encourage everyone to go to ODOT's website as well tomorrow. It's not up there just yet. And I'll try to put in the comments or in the show notes afterwards a link to that. But you need to respond there and ask them, why was the public not given an opportunity to comment as to whether or not we would approve this major scope change of this contract? Because it used to be so it was a contract for this bridge bridge and replacement, and whether or not we wanted Virgin Diamond interchange intersection right there for the frontage roads and Indian Hills Bridge, or if we wanted some other type of interchange at that intersection. And they changed the scope from that to an access justification report. And that is not okay. That is considered a major amendment. And when you have an amendment like that, they're supposed to have public comment to explain, one, why there was such a huge change in cost, which it over doubled the cost of that contract, by the way. And number two, just to get feedback from the public on whether they want the new project description to go forward, or maybe they don't want it at all. Maybe the public doesn't approve of that change. But they obviously never held a public meeting asking for the public's feedback on that. And I think we need to know why. I think that's something we need to find out. So anyway, so I would just encourage everyone to go and leave public comment on ODOT's as well when that comes about, which should be starting tomorrow. And I think it closes on March the 20th. But back to the OTA public comment, we only have until, is it the 20th of
February 20th.
February 20th to comment there. So definitely get those comments in. And I think that's all I had for that.
Yeah, and if you haven't had a chance yet to read the Substack, I put some bullet points that you could talk about in your comments, and so that when they summarize them, hopefully they can't ignore hundreds of comments that say the same thing, and say that 97% of people approve of the 5-stack monstrosity that makes no traffic sense. But it's cool to build.
I think we should also put together our own, maybe Pike Off should put together a letter that addresses all of those concerns and questions. And maybe we should put something out to let other people, other citizens across the state, doesn't matter where you live, but if you agree with these concerns and questions that we're raising, maybe we could find a way for people to sign on to that, and then we could submit that as one. That way they have a record of all of the people who have these same concerns. Because I know when you log on and you're trying to put that in, it's kind of like, well, what you just kind of feel a little bit lost. Like what is important to put here? How is this going to be spun in the wrong direction or whatnot? So maybe we could put something like that together and throw it out there for people to sign on.
It kind of like we did with the Council for Bond Oversight petition in the very beginning. Yeah, we'll think on it for sure. Well, we covered a lot, so please don't forget to contact your legislators. If we can get one bill to the floor, we'll actually have one bill to the floor. It would just be nice to have things move a little bit faster than they do, but all we can do is try, right? If we don't try, I tell my basketball players, if you don't shoot, you can't score. So you might as well try to contact the legislators and tell them what you think and get that stuff up there, and then vote tomorrow. Go to the polling places and vote. You can't complain about things unless you vote. So go vote. And then if you're getting contacted by the OTA, get on your land, contact us, get our signs, and then call them and make sure you make your wishes known. And make a public comment by February 20th. And I don't know, there's so much more to talk about, but I think we have a lot to do this week. It feels like I feel like there's so much to get done. And we'll talk even more about that notice of intent to sue, where we can spend a little bit more time going into it in the background. But just know that the timeline started on January 23rd. So what's that? February 23rd, March 23rd. So right after spring break is when, if we don't hear from the OTA, then that's game time.
So part of the reason we have concerns is they did not get any permits to build this bridge across the river. And if you look how much that river has changed over time. And they're trying to say that they can build this bridge without constructing or getting any fill material into the Canadian River. But we know that their plans show that one of the piers will be 9 feet from the river channel. So, and then what happens over time? Look how far it's changed, just over the past, 15, 20 years. So we just think that that's kind of crazy to think that it won't. Oh, and here's a little snippet from the documentary. Just kind of show it a little bit. Look at that. It changed a lot. So at some point, those piers are going to probably be in the river channel. And the OTA got their permission to not have to have a permit by saying that the piers wouldn't be in the river and won't be in the river post-construction either. So how do they know that? So anyhow, we can dig into that some other time because it's pretty in the weeds.
Yeah, and we have a comment here. that we should, City of Moore residents definitely need to know about the switching the service roads to one way. That'll hurt a lot of businesses on I-35. Yeah, the entire southern extension is going to hurt. Is going to hurt all those businesses along I-35. What about all those hotels and everything that people go up and they stop in Norman, then they keep going on? I think the Chamber of Commerce getting on board with this turnpike is ridiculous because they're hurting 80% of their businesses, probably 90% of their businesses, to build a ring or a bypass. That's not what the turnpikes are supposed to do. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's so funny. I came across I guess it was one of the ODOT Transportation Commission agendas or meeting. Oh, it was the minutes from one of their meetings from back in 2016. And they were talking about how great the Kickapoo was going to be. And, oh, we know there's been all this pushback, but it's going to alleviate all this traffic on I-35. And apparently it didn't. It didn't solve the problem because now they're coming back and saying we need more turnpikes to solve a problem that the turnpike didn't solve before. So yeah, interesting stuff there.
Yeah, I get a kick out of reading. I mean, I don't really get a kick out of it, but I have to laugh so I don't cry. The revenue studies that CDM Smith puts out for all these turnpikes. And like they literally said in the Kickapoo, this route will only save 2 minutes of time. The local traffic will not use it, and it will be disruptive to the community or so, like something of those words. And I was going, okay, they didn't even listen to their revenue study people that are like literally cooking the books. And even on the Kickapoo, they couldn't even make it up saying, oh, it's going to do all this. And all they had said was, the only way that this is going to make money is if you get service roads put in. Well, we know that they didn't get put in. So it's nuts.
Well, and think about this too. They say that the reason they need to alleviate traffic on I-35 is for travel time reliability, so that it will shave off what the CDM Smith study said that it would decrease your travel time by what, a minute, 2 minutes or something?
Yeah, 1 or 2 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. But in the interim, or not in the interim, but for forever now, the people who actually live local, it's going to cost us how many minutes? Because you're thinking, how many lights are you going to have to go through to cross the interstate so that you can go back or go north, go north or south or whatever? How much time is that going to add to our daily trips and, just running simple little errands back and forth, to those businesses there on I-35? Honestly, if I'm going to have to fight the traffic and I'm going to have to cross the interstate, I probably just won't go. I'll probably just use Amazon, and that's going to hurt our local businesses more than it's going to help them.
Yeah.
And it's going to cost us more time in travel. So,
Well, anyone that's ever driven in Dallas, when we go there for soccer tournaments, it's a disaster. You have no idea if you're exiting left or exiting right. People are driving 80 miles an hour. This is on a free road. And then they've got turnpikes all over the place. If you get off the wrong road, then you're paying an exorbitant amount of money per mile. Have you ever driven over those flyovers in Dallas? The ones that are like way high and you feel like you're on a roller coaster. I mean, it's not how I want to drive for sure. That's going to make it very difficult.
And not only that, but okay, look at this. If this is what it's really going to be like here, think about when you do go to Dallas. Do you stay near the 5-stack? Is that where you choose to find a hotel and do all of your shopping and, eat dinner and that kind of stuff? Or do you stop, 20 miles before the 5-stack or 20 miles past the 5-stack where it's a little bit calmer? We don't stop at the 5-stack. Like that's, so Norman and Moore.
Yeah. Well,
people passing through are not going to stop here. They're going to start stopping in Purcell or somewhere else. Yeah. Noble, I don't know where else, but they won't be stopping in Norman because it will be chaotic and nobody's going to want to deal with that. So
yeah.
Anyway.
But it's still not too late. Maybe we can not talk some sense into them, sue some sense into them. Because that's the only way they listen is through legal means, and the only people that make money are the lawyers. So we need to keep going, and our community needs to stay together and stay focused on this. And maybe we can change the law so our kids never have to do this, and we can go back to soccer and basketball and doing all the fun stuff and not having to worry about taking down $1 billion state agency.
Mm-hmm.
But we're committed, so let's go.
Yeah, I did want to ask for people who are listening, if you have any ideas of things you'd like to hear us talk about, or if there's anything that we sort of touched on in the past but you would like more information on, be sure to send the Pike Off admin email, a letter or an email, or post it in the comments underneath the podcast episode, wherever it's airing that you're watching it from, and let us know what else you'd like for us to talk about, if there's anything that we've missed. So I think that was about it.
Yes, for sure. And keep subscribing to those Substacks and share them. They have a lot of information. And then share with people this podcast. And please do get involved with your legislators and contact them for us, because we were really successful the first 2 years because of everybody. Our whole community was contacting everybody. And I think that we can be successful if we keep at it.
And it hasn't slowed down. Our organization is just as big and moving forward as it was in the very beginning, if not, obviously, actually, it's grown a lot. One other thing I just remembered about the OTA meeting, which I thought was interesting, was I believe they said that, quote unquote, anybody who is going to be an impacted landowner on the South Extension is supposedly going to be officially notified of that by the end of this month. So
Wow.
I'm just giving you guys a heads up. If you live in the path of the South Extension, don't freak out when you get this, but please bring it to our attention. Let somebody know. I would love to see what the letter looks like or how they notify you and that sort of thing. But just know that might be coming. But I can tell you on their website, it does not show anything about the South Extension having any type of work done at all. Like they have, if you go to the Access website and you go under resources, I believe it is, they have the Power BI, I can't remember what it is, select schedule, I think is what it was. And it says, when they plan on letting the construction projects or construction contracts for all the different parts of the Turnpike projects, and the South Extension is not even listed on there. So it's not coming anytime soon. So please don't freak out if you get this letter. So anyway, just letting everybody know that it might be coming.
Yeah, let's put this comment up to end the show to make it really clear. So the OTA destroyed my front yard way beyond the scope of a soil sample, and now I have a hole in my woods and can see through the street where you couldn't before, taking away my privacy. Yeah, I'm really sorry that happened, but that's common, and that's why we tell people don't do it. I'm really sorry. They shouldn't do that. I mean, I'm a geotechnical engineer. I go out on site and drill holes all the time. There's ways that you can do it to not be destructive, but
Amy, in that presentation that you put up earlier, 1706C, can we flip to that real fast?
Sure.
I think it was in this. Can you get it back to that right page though?
You mean in Title 69?
Yes.
Right here.
So I think right here.
It says the authority shall make reimbursement for any actual damages resulting to such lands, water, and premises as a result of such activities.
Yep. So Jennifer, I would say if you had damage, you should let them know that they need to fix that, because it says that right there. This is 1706, Title 69, 1706C. The authority shall make reimbursement for any actual damages resulting to such lands, waters, and premises as a result of such activities, which they're talking about going on for surveys, soundings, drillings, and examinations for surveying. So if they did come on your property, then they should pay for those repairs.
Yeah, they should. But they also should have paid the Oklahoma County Commissioners the $4 million that Luther Road was damaged, and they did not. So
I have it.
there you
All
have
right.
it.
Well, Amy, we are at an hour and 5 minutes, so we probably better log off of here.
Yep.
Any last parting comments?
Stay involved, contact your legislators, vote, and we'll be back again next Monday.
Sounds good. Until next week, everyone.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Right of Way Report, a podcast by Pike-Off OTA. You can join us here every Monday morning at 10 a.m., where we will bring you updates on legislation, litigation, and landowner information.